I watched Philip's lips move as he spoke those words, and my soul trembled. You have no place in this house, Trevor. I stood at the kitchen doorway, breakfast plates balanced in my hands, and everyone looked at me like I was nothing more than an inconvenience they had to tolerate. Philip's scent filled the air, that sharp, commanding alpha scent that always made me feel small, insignificant, less than what I should be. Dad lifted his newspaper without even glancing my way. Mom turned her face as if I didn't exist in that moment. And Philip, he sat in his chair like a king surveying his kingdom, because that's exactly what he was in this house. The only alpha son this family had, the one everyone loved, the one everyone praised, the one everyone respected without question. And me? I was just the silent omega who couldn't hear, couldn't speak, couldn't even voice a single sentence for himself. My life had become a prisoner of silence. I had no ability to hear sounds that others took for granted. I had no voice to express what lived inside my heart. All I had were these hands that spoke in sign language, but in this house, nobody wanted to understand, and nobody cared enough to learn. Philip had always forced me to write notes instead, but then he never bothered reading them anyway. Whenever I tried to communicate with my hands, he would get irritated, his face twisting with annoyance. This morning I had attempted to tell him we were running low on groceries, but he just raised his hand dismissively and I read his lips. Tell me later, Trevor. I'm not in the mood right now. But later never came for him. My very existence was like noise to them that needed to be suppressed. Even though I couldn't make any sound at all. I was inside this house, but I wasn't part of it, like I was just a shadow moving along the walls, present but invisible. The breakfast table proved no different. Philip picked up his coffee cup, looked at me and smiled. That smile that always burned my heart from the inside. His lips moved and I lip-read the word. Lose. The pain shot through my chest, but I couldn't say anything, couldn't respond, couldn't defend myself. As Philip stood to leave, Dad patted his shoulder affectionately. I read Dad's lips. Proud of you, son. Mom kissed his cheek and I watched as she said, You're going to do great things, Philip. And me? I just stood there with plates in my hands, drowning in silence, as if I simply didn't exist in their world. After everyone left, I placed the plates in the dishwasher and retreated to my room. Even here, everything was quiet. Even my thoughts didn't seem to make noise. I looked at myself in the mirror. A thin omega body stared back at me. Dark circles under my eyes revealed how many nights I had spent crying alone. My lips were dry because I often forgot to drink water. Lost in my own isolated world. Who was I? What was I? Just a shadow? Just a mistake that had wandered into this world by accident. My phone buzzed with a notification. Philip had posted in the family group chat. I read the screen. Landed the deal. Dad's gonna be so proud. Celebrating tonight. Below his message, responses poured in one after another. So happy. We're so proud. You're a star, Philip. And then, silence. My name wasn't mentioned even once. Because I wasn't part of this family. Not really. I turned off the screen and collapsed onto my bed, burying my face in the pillow. I wanted to cry, but no tears came. Perhaps my eyes had nothing left to give anymore. That evening when I left the house, I thought, just for today, let me feel something. Let me see something different. I decided to go sit in a cafe and watch people, hoping that seeing others happy might lighten the weight on my heart just a little. Maybe that could be my small piece of life for now. I put on my jacket and stepped out, thinking that at least the outside world wouldn't ignore me even if it didn't know me at all. But I had no idea that tonight would change my entire existence. Because the moment I passed by that cafe, a black car pulled up right in front of me. I couldn't hear the sound of brakes, but I could feel something significant was about to happen. And when the door opened, my breath caught in my throat. He was tall with broad shoulders, an alpha whose face showed no emotion, only power, only intensity. But when his gaze landed on me and his scent reached my nose, that deep, dangerous yet somehow comforting fragrance, I felt for the first time that someone was actually seeing me. Someone was truly looking at me. His eyes remained fixed on me, and in that single moment my entire body trembled. My omega instincts awakened, and I felt as if the world had stopped moving entirely. The street lights cast shadows around us, and I could see his features more clearly now. Sharp jawline, dark eyes, that seemed to penetrate right through to my core. His presence commanded attention, demanded respect, radiated authority. This wasn't just any alpha. This was someone who controlled things, someone who made others bend to his will. And yet, in the way he looked at me, there was something unexpected, something almost gentle. I realized I was still standing frozen on the sidewalk, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. What was happening to me? Why was my body reacting this way to a complete stranger? My omega nature was responding to his alpha energy in ways I had never experienced before, not even around Philip or any other alphas I had encountered. This felt different. This felt dangerous. This felt like destiny had just knocked on my door without warning. He took a step closer and I instinctively took a step back, my mind screaming caution even as my body seemed drawn to him like a magnet. The rational part of my brain told me to run, to get away from this clearly powerful and potentially dangerous man. But my feet wouldn't move, my eyes couldn't look away, and my heart was doing something I didn't understand, beating in a rhythm that felt both terrifying and exhilarating. The cool evening air brushed against my skin, but all I could feel was the heat radiating from his presence. All I could sense was his scent growing stronger, wrapping around me like an invisible embrace. My hands trembled slightly at my sides, and I wondered if he noticed. I wondered what he saw when he looked at me. Did he see the broken omega that my family saw? Or did he see something else? Something I couldn't even see in myself? This moment stretched between us, heavy with unspoken possibilities and questions that had no answers yet. I didn't know his name. I didn't know anything about him. But somehow, in the deepest part of my being, I felt like this encounter was going to matter. Like this man standing before me was going to become someone significant in my life. The thought both thrilled and terrified me in equal measure. I remained standing there on the sidewalk, and he continued watching me with an intensity that made my skin tingle. His eyes were dark, deep, filled with fire, but also containing a strange sense of peace that contradicted everything else about him. My heartbeat accelerated. Who is this person? Why is he staring at me like this? And why is his scent so overwhelmingly powerful? My omega instinct warned me that this alpha was dangerous, but simultaneously my heart whispered that perhaps he was exactly what I needed. He emerged from the car, adjusting his black coat with practiced ease. Two more men stepped out behind him, dressed in expensive suits, silent and threatening in their demeanor. But my attention remained locked on him. He walked directly toward me, slowly and deliberately, as if he understood I was frightened. I pulled back slightly, my heart racing wildly, because I recognized that this was no ordinary alpha. This was someone extremely dangerous, someone whose very presence radiated power and peril. He spoke something. His lips moved. I attempted to lip read. "You okay?" That's probably what he asked. I nodded my head. "Yes, I'm fine." He paused for a moment, then spoke again, but this time more slowly, as if he knew I needed to read his lips carefully. I concentrated hard on his mouth and understood. "You live around here?" he asked with such genuine concern, as if he really wanted to know the answer. I nodded again. "Yes. Not far from here." But internally I wondered, why is he asking? Does he know me somehow? Then he made a gesture, pointing to his ear and then to my mouth. He asked. I read his lips. "Can you hear me?" Fear crept into my chest. "Hear too?" Even here the same question? I shook my head. "No. I cannot hear. And I cannot speak either." I gestured with my hands toward my mouth and ears, hoping he would understand my disability. But what happened next, I had never anticipated. It went completely against my expectations. He pulled out his phone and began typing. Then he turned the screen toward me, bending slightly so I could see it easily. "My name is Jose. Are you hurt?" Tears welled up in my eyes instantly. For the first time, someone had tall. For the first time, someone adjusted so effortlessly. Someone found a way to communicate with me without any complaint or frustration. Someone didn't make me feel uncomfortable about my limitations. I shook my head. "No, I'm fine. Just a bit surprised." He typed again. "You look lost." I nodded in agreement. "Yes, I'm always lost. Every moment. Every place. Even in my own home." Jose signaled to his men and they stepped back, as if understanding their boss wanted this moment to remain private. Then he extended his hand toward me. I looked into his eyes. There was no force, no anger, no expectation, just an invitation, a silent request for me to trust him. A voice inside me protested. Maybe this is wrong. Maybe this is dangerous. This man looks threatening. But still, I placed my hand in his. Because for the first time, someone had given me a choice instead of making decisions for me. His touch sent electricity coursing through my body. His alpha scent grew even closer, awakening my omega instincts, making my body react in ways I couldn't control. This wasn't right. I shouldn't be reacting like this. But my body was responding. My heart was responding. And that part of me that had always remained silent was suddenly trying to speak. He led me toward the car. I typed on my phone. "Where are we going?" He answered, "Somewhere safe. You don't belong on these streets at night." And then he added, "Trust me." Trust? That word felt so foreign to me. I had never trusted anyone, because nobody had ever deserved it. But something in Jose's eyes was pulling me in, calling to me with an irresistible force. I got into the car. His scent filled the entire vehicle, warm, protective, possessive in a way that should have frightened me, but instead made me feel secure. My omega senses were going into overload. This alpha was different, very different. The way he looked at me, the way he communicated with me, everything felt unique. As the car started moving, I typed on my phone, "Who are you?" He glanced at me, thought for a moment, then typed, "Someone who's been looking for something real. And I think I just found it." My heart stopped. What is he saying? I'm nothing. I'm just a broken omega who has been rejected by his own family. But in Jose's eyes, I was something. I was someone. The car took to the road and I felt like I was living in a dream. But this was real. All of this was actually happening. And for the first time, I wasn't feeling fear. I was feeling hope blooming inside my chest. I watched the city lights pass by through the window, creating patterns of brightness and shadow that seemed to mirror my own confused emotions. Everything felt surreal, like I had stepped into a different dimension where the rules I had lived in no longer applied. In my family's house I was invisible, worthless, a burden. But here, in this car with this mysterious alpha, I felt seen. I felt valued. I felt like maybe, just maybe, I mattered to someone. Jose's men sat in the front seats, giving us privacy in the back. I could see their eyes occasionally glancing at us through the rearview mirror, but they remained professional and silent. Whatever Jose's business was, these men clearly respected him completely, obeyed him without question. That should have terrified me. What kind of man commanded such absolute loyalty? What kind of life did he lead? But instead of fear, I felt curiosity growing inside me. Who was Jose really? Why had he stopped his car for me? Why did he care whether I was okay or not? We were complete strangers, and yet he had taken me into his car, promised me safety, looked at me like I was precious. None of it made logical sense, but my heart didn't care about logic right now. My heart was too busy feeling emotions I had thought were dead inside me. I typed another question on my phone. "Why did you stop for me?" He read it and smiled slightly, the first real smile I had seen on his face. Then he typed back, "Because you looked like you needed someone to see you, and I couldn't drive past without stopping." Those words hit me harder than anything Philip had ever said. Because they were kind. Because they were true. Because they acknowledged my pain without me having to explain it. How did this stranger understand me better in 5 minutes than my family had in my entire life? The car continued through the night, carrying me away from everything I had known, toward something completely unknown. And for the first time in my existence, I wasn't afraid of the unknown. I was excited by it. The car stopped in front of a massive mansion. The lights illuminated the building so beautifully that my breath caught when I saw it. This wasn't any ordinary house. This was an empire. High walls surrounded the property. Guards stood at various positions maintaining perfect vigilance. And lights glowed from inside, casting warm patterns across the manicured grounds. I looked at Jose, confusion filling my expression. This place. This is enormous. He noticed my reaction and picked up his phone, typing, "This is my place. You'll be safe here tonight." Safe? This place looked even more dangerous than the streets I had just left. But still, I got out of the car. Because truthfully, this was better than going home. At least here, nobody would call me a loser. At least here, nobody would ignore my existence completely. The interior view was even more stunning. Marble floors stretched in every direction, chandeliers sparkled overhead, and everything was absolutely perfect, flawlessly perfect. But this wasn't just decoration, this was a display of power. This wasn't for show, this was reality. I realized that Jose wasn't simply a wealthy alpha. He was something more, something far more dangerous, something much more powerful than I had initially understood. He led me into a room and had me sit on a plush sofa, then handed me a glass of water. Then he sat across from me, close enough to feel personal but not invasive, and typed, "I need to know your name." I thought for a moment, then picked up my phone and wrote, "Trev." He read my name and a gentle smile appeared on his lips. The first time I had seen him smile properly. Then he typed, "Trevor. Beautiful name for a beautiful omega." My heart pounded hard. Nobody ever called me beautiful. Never. I had always been the unwanted omega, the defective piece who served no purpose. But in Jose's words, there was no lie. There was truth. There was genuine feeling. I asked, "Why did you bring me here?" He answered, "Because I couldn't leave you there. Something told me you needed to be protected." Protected. That word felt so strange to me, because I had never felt like anyone wanted to protect me. At home, I had always protected myself, fought my own battles alone. Then I gathered courage and wrote, "Who are you really?" Jose took a deep breath, then typed, and when I read it my heart sank. "I run this city's underworld. People call me ruthless, dangerous, a mafia boss. But with you, I don't want to be that mafia boss." This was truly that dangerous a man, someone people probably told horror stories about. But still, the softness in his eyes when he looked at me felt genuine. It wasn't a mask he was wearing. He continued, "I've never felt this pull toward anyone. Your scent, your presence, everything about you is calling to me." My entire body trembled. This alpha was talking about a mating bond. But how could this happen so quickly? We had only just met hours ago. I typed on my phone, "I'm nobody. I'm just a broken omega who can't even speak." Jose took the phone from me and typed, this time his words were in bold, capital letters, "You're not broken, you're perfect. And I'll destroy anyone who made you believe any other way." Tears filled my eyes and began falling down my cheeks. For the first time, someone had defended me. For the first time, someone had believed in me. For the first time, someone had called me perfect instead of defective. Then suddenly, Jose's phone vibrated with an incoming call. He answered it and spoke briefly, and I watched anger cross his features, followed by concern. Then he ended the call and came back to me. He typed, "I have to handle something, but you'll stay here tonight. My men will protect you. No one will touch you." I nodded. "Okay." He started to stand, but then stopped. He came closer and placed his hand on my cheek. His touch set my omega body on fire, sent currents of electricity through every nerve. He kissed my forehead, gentle, protective, possessive, all at once. And then he left, leaving me alone. But I didn't feel alone, because now I had someone who cared about me. And that feeling stayed with me. After he left, I sat on the sofa, trying to process everything that had happened in the last few hours. My life had been moving in one direction, a direction of loneliness, rejection, and pain. And now suddenly it had taken a completely different turn. I had met an alpha who saw me, who valued me, who wanted to protect me. An alpha who also happened to be one of the most dangerous men in this city. I looked around the room Jose had given me. Everything was luxurious, expensive, carefully chosen. A large bed dominated the space, covered in silk sheets that probably cost more than everything I owned. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of the garden, where security lights created patterns in the darkness. Artwork hung on the walls, original pieces I suspected, not reproductions. This wasn't just a guest room. This was a statement about the kind of life Jose lived. I walked to the window and looked out at the grounds. Guards patrolled with precision, their movements coordinated and professional. This wasn't just a home, this was a fortress. Jose had built walls to keep the world out, to protect what was his. And now, for reasons I still didn't fully understand, He had brought me inside those walls. He had offered me protection. He had offered me safety. But safety came with questions. What did Jose want from me? Why had he stopped his car when he saw me? Was this really about a mating bond? Or was there something else I didn't understand yet? My logical mind told me to be careful, to maintain distance, to protect myself from getting hurt again. But my heart was already starting to hope, already starting to believe that maybe this could be real. I returned to the sofa and picked up my phone, looking at the messages Jose had sent me. Each word felt precious, like a gift I wanted to treasure. Nobody had ever spoken to me with such respect, such consideration, such genuine care. My family had spent years making me feel worthless, and this stranger had spent one evening making me feel valued. The contrast was almost too much to bear. A soft knock on the door interrupted my thoughts. One of Jose's men entered, carrying a tray with food. He set it down on the table, nodded respectfully at me, and left without saying a word. I looked at the meal, carefully prepared, beautifully presented, clearly made with thought and care. Even Jose's staff treated me better than my own family ever had. I ate slowly, savoring not just the food but the entire experience. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be, like all the pain and rejection had been leading me to this moment, to this place, to this alpha who saw something in me that nobody else had ever seen. And as I finished eating and prepared for bed in this luxurious room, I allowed myself to hope that tomorrow would bring answers, hope that Jose's words had been genuine, hope that maybe, just maybe, my life was about to change for the better. The next morning when I returned home, I already sensed that everything had shifted irreversibly. The door swung open and Philip stood there, his face flushed red with fury. He grabbed my collar and yanked me inside with a violent jerk. I read his lips as he shouted, the words forming clearly, "Where were you all night?" I tried to reach for my phone to write a response, but he snatched it from my hand and hurled it against the floor. The screen splintered into a web of cracks. Then he shoved me hard against the wall. His alpha scent flooded the air in pure rage, dominating, threatening, suffocating everything else. I read his lips again. You were with another alpha, weren't you? I can smell him all over you. Fear gripped my chest. Yes. Jose's scent clung to my skin, embedded in the fabric of my clothes. And a possessive alpha like Philip couldn't tolerate the thought of his younger omega brother getting close to another alpha. Dad entered the living room. Mom followed close behind. I read Dad's lips as he spoke. What's happening here? Philip pointed at me accusingly and said, I lip-read carefully, he was out all night. With some alpha. Doesn't he have any shame? Mom's face twisted with disgust and hatred. She spoke and I caught her words. Trevor, you've brought dishonor to this household. My heart shattered into pieces. I hadn't done anything wrong. Jose had simply offered me a safe place to stay. But here everything became my fault. Even breathing felt like a crime I was committing. I picked up my phone from the floor. The screen was cracked but still functional. I typed, I didn't do anything wrong. Someone helped me. Philip snatched the phone and read my message. Then he laughed. A dangerous sound that didn't reach his eyes. He spoke. Help? Nobody helps a defective omega like you. He probably just wants to use you. Those words pierced through my chest like knives. I had heard them my entire life. Defective. Unwanted. Burden. Worthless. But then, my phone vibrated with an incoming notification. I glanced at the screen. Jose had sent a message. Are you okay? I'm coming to get you. Hope flickered in my heart like a candle flame in darkness. But Philip saw the message too. Fire blazed in his eyes. He spoke. Who is this? Who is Jose? Then he began searching on my phone. And when he found Jose's name, his full identity, his background, his reputation, Philip's face drained of all color, turning pale as death. He showed the screen to Dad. Dad read it and his mouth fell open in shock. Jose Hale, the Mafia boss. Philip stared at me as if he didn't recognize me anymore. Have you lost your mind? Do you know who this man is? Do you understand how dangerous he is? I nodded my head. Yes. I know exactly who he is. And you still went with him? Yes. Because he gave me what you people never did. Respect. Care. protection, love. Just then, sounds came from outside. The rumble of vehicles arriving. I could feel vibrations through the floor. I looked out the window. 3 black cars had pulled up, and from the middle one, Jose emerged. He looked exactly as he had yesterday. Powerful, dangerous, commanding absolute authority. And Philip grabbed my arm painfully. You're not going anywhere. But I pulled my hand free from his grip. For the first time, I resisted my brother directly. For the first time, I stood up myself. I communicated with my eyes. I don't belong to you anymore. I walked outside. Jose was watching me, waiting patiently. When he came closer, he examined my face. Tears in my eyes, red marks on my cheek from Philip's grip beginning to form bruises. He pulled out his phone and typed, "Did they hurt you?" I nodded. Yes. They always do. Fire ignited in his eyes. He looked past me at Philip, as if he wanted to burn him alive right there. But then he controlled himself. For my sake. He took my hand and led me toward the car. Philip shouted, "Trevor, come back. You're our brother." But I didn't turn around, because today, for the first time, I had chosen something for myself. I had chosen my own happiness over their expectations. As we walked toward the car, I could feel my family's eyes burning into my back. Mom had come to the doorway, her hand pressed against her mouth in horror. Dad stood rigid, his newspaper forgotten in his hands. And Philip looked like his entire world had been upended, like he couldn't comprehend that his silent, obedient Omega brother had just defied him completely. Jose's men opened the car door for me with respect I had never experienced before. They didn't look at me with pity or disgust. They simply acknowledged my presence with professional courtesy, as if I mattered, as if I deserved their consideration. It was such a stark contrast to how my own family treated me that I almost wanted to cry again. But I held back the tears. I refused to let my family see me break down. I had spent too many years crying in my room, suffering in silence, accepting their rejection as if I deserved it. Not anymore. Today marked the beginning of something different. Today I was choosing myself. Jose slid into the car beside me, and immediately his scent wrapped around me like a protective blanket. The car door closed, shutting out my family's voices, their judgment, their toxicity. Through the tinted window, I watched Philip take a step forward, his mouth moving in what I assumed were more threats or commands. But I couldn't hear him, and for once, my deafness felt like a blessing instead of a curse. The car began to move, pulling away from the house where I had spent my entire life feeling invisible and worthless. With each passing second, the distance between me and that painful past grew larger. And with each passing second, I felt lighter, freer, more alive than I had ever felt before. Jose typed on his phone and showed me, "You're brave, braver than you know." I stared at those words for a long moment. Brave? Me? I had never thought of myself that way. I had always been the weak one, the broken one, the one who couldn't stand up for himself. But maybe Jose saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself yet. Maybe he saw the person I could become, rather than the person my family had convinced me I was. I typed back, "I'm scared." It was the truth. I was terrified of what came next, terrified of this new unknown future, terrified that maybe I had made a terrible mistake. But I was also exhilarated, hopeful, excited about possibilities I had never allowed myself to imagine before. Jose read my message and then did something unexpected. He reached over and gently wiped away a tear that had escaped down my cheek. His touch was so tender, so caring that it broke something open inside me. He typed, "It's okay to be scared, but you're not alone anymore. I've got you." And in that moment, sitting in that car, driving away from everything I had ever known, I believed him. I believed that maybe, just maybe, everything was going to be okay. Better than okay. Maybe my life was finally beginning for real. The city streets passed by outside the window, familiar landmarks taking on new meaning now that I was seeing them with different eyes. I was no longer Trevor the defective Omega, the family embarrassment, the son who didn't matter. I was becoming something else, someone else. I just didn't know exactly who that person was yet. But with Jose beside me, I was ready to find out. After returning to Jose's home, I felt like my life was finally breathing for the first time. He was always present, communicating through phone messages, making me feel comfortable, never allowing me to feel overwhelmed by the dramatic changes happening in my world. His world was dangerous, filled with threats and violence. But with me, he transformed into a different person. Soft, caring, protective in ways I had never experienced. The first few days I simply adjusted to my new reality. Jose gave me his master bedroom and moved himself into a guest room. He didn't force anything, didn't pressure me, didn't make demands. Every day he would message me on his phone. "Are you comfortable? Do you need anything?" And each time I was amazed. Because this care, this genuine concern, all of it was completely new to me. One evening he invited me to his private lounge. Candles flickered throughout the space, creating dancing shadows on the walls, and soft lights made everything feel intimate and safe. He sat across from me and typed on his phone, "I want to court you properly. I want you to be mine. Not by force but by choice." My heart pounded violently. Court me? An omega who couldn't hear, couldn't speak? I wrote, "Why me? You could have anyone." He replied, "Because you're the only one who makes me feel human. The only one whose silence speaks louder than anyone's words." Tears spilled down my cheeks. This alpha, he truly wanted me. Then he took my hand and kissed it with his lips. Gentle, respectful, reverent. Then he looked at me and typed, "I'll learn sign language. I'll learn everything about you, because you deserve to be heard." And from that night forward, Jose kept his promise. Every single day he would sit with me and practice sign language. Sometimes he made mistakes, sometimes he got it right, but he always tried. He even hired a teacher who worked with both of us together. And when he finally signed to me for the first time with his own hands, "I love you," I felt for the first time in my entire existence that someone truly loved me. Genuinely, from their heart. But the world wasn't going to make things easy. Because Philip refused to accept defeat, he started targeting Jose's business operations. He filed reports with the police, sabotaged deals, and attempted to damage Jose's reputation throughout the city. He threatened Jose's clients, blocked his shipments, created problems from every possible angle. When I discovered this, one of Jose's guards informed me. I asked Jose through my phone, "Why don't you destroy him? You have the power." Jose answered, "Because he's your brother, and I won't hurt anyone you still care about." But I didn't care about Philip anymore. That relationship had died when he spent years rejecting me, humiliating me, making me feel worthless. I typed, "I don't care about him. I only care about you." Jose pulled me into his arms. His scent surrounded me, completely warm, possessive, protective, comforting all at once. And then he kissed me. This kiss wasn't like the gentle ones before. This was desperate. This was claiming. This was raw need finally being expressed. For the first time, I didn't control my omega instincts. I kissed him back with equal intensity, my hands reaching up to hold his face. And that night, Jose made me completely his. Physically, emotionally, in every way that mattered. When morning arrived, I was still in his arms, his scent permanently marked on my skin. And for the first time, I was happy. Truly, genuinely happy. The days that followed felt like living in a beautiful dream I never wanted to end. Jose didn't just keep me in his mansion like a protected treasure. He involved me in his life. He showed me his business operations, explaining through written notes and slowly improving sign language how his empire functioned. He asked for my opinions on decisions, treating my thoughts as valuable and worth considering. His men began treating me with the same respect they showed Jose himself. At first it made me uncomfortable, this sudden elevation in status, but gradually I realized this was what I deserved all along, to be treated like I mattered. Like my presence added value to the world rather than subtracting from it. Jose introduced me to parts of the city I had never seen before. We would drive through neighborhoods where his influence extended, and I watched how people reacted to him. Some with fear, yes, but also with respect and even gratitude. He wasn't just a criminal taking from the city. He was someone who protected certain communities, who provided for families that had nowhere else to turn, who maintained order in places the official authorities had abandoned. This complexity fascinated me. Jose wasn't simply good or bad. He was layered, nuanced, doing what he believed necessary to survive and thrive in a harsh world. And he wanted me to understand all of it, to see him completely rather than just the surface presentation. One afternoon, we sat in his office while he handled some business calls. I watched him work, the way his expression shifted from hard and commanding to thoughtful and strategic. When he finished, he turned to me and signed, "What are you thinking?" His sign language had improved dramatically. I signed back slowly, still learning myself, "You're amazing." It was simple but true. He smiled, a real genuine smile that transformed his entire face. Then he signed, "You make me want to be better." Those words settled into my heart like precious gems I would treasure forever, because they meant he saw value in what I brought to his life, that my presence changed him in positive ways, that our connection mattered deeply to both of us. But beneath this growing happiness, I knew Philip's threat still loomed. Jose had chosen not to retaliate directly, respecting my conflicted feelings about my family despite everything they had done. But Philip wasn't going to stop. His pride, his alpha possessiveness, his inability to accept that I had chosen someone else, all of it was building toward an inevitable confrontation. I just didn't know how explosive that confrontation would be. That night, as Jose and I lay together in his bed, I felt his heartbeat steady beneath my palm. I felt safe in a way I had never experienced before. Protected, valued, loved. And I knew that whatever came next, whatever Philip tried to do, I wouldn't face it alone anymore. Jose's arms tightened around me, slightly, as if sensing my thoughts. He reached for his phone on the nightstand and typed, "Sleep. I'll keep you safe." And I did sleep, deeply and peacefully, because I believed him completely. The next morning, when I woke in Jose's arms, I felt like I was living inside a dream too perfect to be real. My head rested on his chest, and I could feel his heartbeat, that steady, calming rhythm that brought me peace I had never known existed. This comfort, this love, all of it was real. All of it was mine. He looked at me and reached for his phone, typing, "Good morning, my Omega." My heart melted completely. I was officially his now, his mate, his everything. And he was mine. But outside our sanctuary, a storm was approaching rapidly. Philip launched his final attack. He targeted Jose's warehouse, injured several of his men, sent some to the hospital with serious wounds. And then he sent me a message that appeared on my cracked phone screen. "If you don't come back, I'll destroy Jose completely. I'll burn his entire world to ashes." Fear struck me initially, but this time that fear quickly transformed into something else. Determination. I showed Jose the message, and Jose simply responded in sign language, which he now used perfectly. "No one threatens what's mine." That evening, Jose mobilized his entire empire and went to my old family home. When the door opened, Philip's face went completely pale. Dad stepped backward involuntarily. Mom looked terrified. Jose pulled out his phone, typed a message, and showed the screen to Dad. "Trevor is mine now. He's my mate. And if any of you ever hurt him again, I'll erase your entire existence. Your business, your reputation, your life. Everything." Dad couldn't speak a single word in response. Mom backed away further, her hand clutching her throat. And Philip, all his power, all his dominance evaporated instantly. Because standing before an alpha like Jose, he was nothing. Just a small, insignificant person who had bullied someone weaker and now faced consequences. I looked at my family home one final time. The place where I had grown up, where I had experienced nothing but pain and rejection. Then I took Jose's hand and walked away. I didn't look back even once, because these people were no longer my home. My home was wherever Jose was. The confrontation had been anticlimactic in some ways. I had expected more violence, more drama, more explosive conflict, but Jose's mere presence had been enough. His reputation, his power, his absolute certainty, it had crushed any resistance before it could even begin. My family had built their entire sense of superiority on dominating me, the weakest member. But faced with someone truly powerful, they crumbled instantly. As we drove away, Jose kept his hand linked with mine. He didn't say anything, didn't need to say anything. The message was clear in his touch, in the protective way he held me close. I was safe now. I was valued. I was loved. Months passed after that night, and my life transformed completely. Jose hired specialized teachers who worked with me on advanced sign language, helping me communicate more fluently than ever before. He rebuilt my confidence piece by piece, showing me through actions and words that I wasn't defective. I was perfect exactly as I was. He involved me in his business decisions, trusting my judgment and insights. He gave me respect I had never imagined possible. He introduced me to his entire organization properly, making it clear to everyone that I stood beside him as his equal, his mate, his partner in everything. The men who worked for him began coming to me with questions and problems, treating me like I had authority and wisdom worth seeking. It was overwhelming at first, but Jose helped me navigate this new role with patience and encouragement. I discovered talents I never knew I possessed, an eye for detail that helped identify problems in business operations, an ability to read people's body language and facial expressions that came from years of relying on visual cues, strategic thinking that had developed from constantly having to plan around my limitations. Jose helped me see these things not as compensations for my deafness, but as unique strengths that made me valuable. And when my heat came for the first time while being with Jose, he claimed me officially, completely, permanently. His bite mark appeared on my neck, permanent proof that I belonged to him and he belonged to me. The bond snapped into place between us, overwhelming and beautiful and right in every possible way. I was no longer just Trevor. I was Jose Hale's Omega, his mate, his love, his everything. And for the first time in my entire existence, I was genuinely happy. For the first time, I had chosen my own life instead of accepting what others decided for me. In that choice, that was the best decision I had ever made. One evening, we stood together on the balcony of his mansion, looking out over the city lights spread before us like scattered stars. Jose's arms wrapped around me from behind, his chin resting on my shoulder. He had been practicing his sign language diligently, and now he signed against my palm where I could feel each letter. Any regrets? I turned in his arms and signed back clearly. Not a single one. He smiled and kissed me deeply, and I felt the bond between us pulse with warmth and certainty. This was my life now. This was my future. And it was more beautiful than anything I had ever dared to dream. My family tried to contact me a few times in those early months. Text messages from mom saying they wanted to talk. Voicemails from dad that I never listened to. Even a few attempts from Philip that I deleted without reading. But I never responded. I had spent my entire life begging for their attention, their acceptance, their love. I was done begging. Jose never pressured me about them. He simply supported whatever I chose, making it clear he would stand by my decisions regardless of what they were. That unconditional support meant more to me than he probably realized. It was the foundation that allowed me to finally truly heal from all those years of rejection. I built a new family with Jose and the people in his world who genuinely cared about me. I found brothers in some of his trusted men who protected me and joked with me and treated me like I belonged. I found purpose in helping manage parts of Jose's empire, using my unique perspective to solve problems in unexpected ways. I found love in Jose's arms every single night. And most importantly, I found myself. The real Trevor who had been buried under years of being told he was worthless. The strong, capable, valuable person I had always been but never believed in. Standing on that balcony in Jose's arms, looking out at our city, I finally understood what it meant to be home. Not a place, a person. Jose was my home, and I was his, and that was everything I had ever needed.